Oh, man. Okay, one more time. We'll go with it. We'll go with it. Good morning, Ed. Just give yourselves a round of applause at this point. I love seeing all your guys' faces. We've got a couple people missing script books. Elena's going to go print those because I want to deliver on my promise. So thank you. Thank you. Carla, we got you, boo. We got you. So thank you guys for showing up and wanting to continue to learn and grow together. That's what it's all about. So as always, let's start with John. John, come on up.
Hey, John.
I wanted to just touch on this morning some things that I've been seeing a lot of on the Annie Fitzsimmons legal hotline regarding teams. And you might think, well, I'm not on a team, or I don't have a team, or whatever, and it still affects you. So I want to make sure that we all are in sync with some of these things I want to address to you today. So, first of all, a team in an office is not a licensed entity. It is a is a real estate construct, something in our industry that we have kind of developed over time, sort of an evolution, that we do. And it's to help bring out have each person focus on what they do well and bring out the best in people. And so that's, why that's kind of evolved to become something goes. And we promote that very strongly here in our market centers. We try to promote that because it is so important to bring out the best in each person and be able to have that person's skills adding in the best way to each group. So that said, the Department of Licensing has certain concerns about teams, and they've expressed those to Annie Fitzsimmons directly, and they have mentioned some things they're concerned about and looking at with teams. And so I just wanted to bring some of these things to your attention. First, also letting you know that Friday's Annie Fitzsimmons video was on, it was called Team Mayhem. And that's part one of a 3-part series she's doing on teams and some of those issues that are becoming concerning to the Department of Licensing. And so what I'm covering today is, before having seen that video that I had developed, so I will be going into maybe more depth on that in developing our office's policies and procedures, things like that. But let me just address these that I had first come up with from previous information from Annie, and that is that a team leader or supervisor of a team, we call it a team leader, I guess, must have a managing broker license. So in our policy and procedures, we have that, as one of the requirements for a team to be is that there be a managing broker. And I get asked the question a lot: why does it have to be a managing broker? Because the Department of Licensing said so, and the RCWs say so. And so then they say, well, but other offices don't do that. Okay? Other offices are breaking the license law, and we're not. Okay? So that's the answer to that. That team leader must have a delegation agreement with the designated broker. Okay, so I'm basically delegating my responsibilities, authority to supervise that individual agent to that team leader, that licensed team leader. That doesn't mean I don't have responsibility. Ultimately, everything comes back to me, right? But it does delegate that immediate supervision to someone else who's that team leader. Also, a concern addressed by Annie Fitzsimmons is team names and advertising. So we want to be a little bit careful about the team names and how those things are being promote it or advertise. What the Department of Licensing is really concerned about is that the general public is going to get confused as to what is the firm. You know, is the firm, you know, John Hanson Associates, or is the firm Keller Williams Puget Sound or Keller Williams Mountain Sound? What is the name of the firm? And they want to make sure the public is not confused. So they want to make sure that, and this comes from a meeting that I think Pam was there too, but I know Dennis was there with me when we had the person who actually is responsible for, his name is Bill something, that spoke about things that the Department of Licensing is really looking for in those names. And they want to make sure in advertisements, this is their opinion, not the RCW is very general about it, but this representative of the Department of Licensing was very specific, and he said, we interpret this to mean that the name of the individual licensee or the team that's on the advertisement is congruent with the firm's name. In other words, that they are the same size, that they are the same color scheme, that they, you know, that there's not deception to where someone is going to think that or not know who the firm is. Okay. So I don't think there's tons to worry about there unless you're just putting the firm's name way down at the bottom somewhere and out of the way, which I don't know why anyone would want to do from our firm anyway. But it's just to not be deceptive to the public almost. Also, it's considered by the DOL, it is considered false advertising for a team leader to say that they had, for example, 100 sales when it was really their team's total. So they want to make sure, again, that the public is not deceived. I don't go around saying, you know, I'm John Hanson and I had how many closings did we have in both offices, Dennis, last year? A lot. And I had a lot of closings. I had thousands of, I had 2,700 closings last year. Okay, that's a little deceptive, isn't it? Because I did not, as it is in the broker, I was responsible for them, but I did not have anything to do with them, right? 37. Oh, 37. So if you're the team leader and you're trying to advertise, you know, as the rainmaker for your own business, you just want to be careful to make sure you're not including all the team's transactions unless you are involved directly in those sales. And he says, and that doesn't mean you just had one contact that said, greetings, I'm going to turn you over to another agent. That's all you had to do with it. She says, that doesn't work. You can't be deceptive and say you had anything to do with that. Also, she says that the DOL is currently disciplining the team leader for putting their names on contracts when they're not really involved in that explanation I just gave. Okay? Because they're trying to add to their numbers and things like that. And it's considered, these are the words of Annie Fitzsimmons, and she says this is a quote from the Department of Licensing. It is considered a false and deceptive practice. So we want to be careful about that. You know, if you're the team leader and you're actually, you know, involved with that client, that's fine. But if you just had one communication with that client and you turned them over to a buyer's agent, and that's the last you ever saw them again, that's a little deceptive. And that's the concern Annie says that the DOL has about that. Okay. Also, there's some problems about our agency law duties with clients, those specific duties we have with clients when there's teams involved. And so One of those duties is confidentiality. One of those duties is loyalty. So in a case back in the Minnesota, Minneapolis, St. Paul area, there's a town called Edina that is just outside of it. It's kind of like the Bellevue is to Seattle. It's where they think of the doctors and lawyers living and things like that, maybe even more so than we think of Bellevue. It's just, it's the place to live, in the Minneapolis, St. Paul area. And years ago, they had a huge lawsuit, became a class action lawsuit in which a guy named Bokuski sued Edina Realty because Edina Realty had the agent had disclosed some information that Bokuski entrusted in him and disclosed it at a sales meeting that he considered confidential and private. And yet Bokuski said it in a sales meeting thinking that, if anybody has a buyer, sure, the Bokuski says that you take this much for the property. And sure enough, offers came in for that much. And then they got sued. And it was a big deal. So just like that, with our teams, we got to be really careful. So maybe the rainmaker knows that this seller not only would take a certain price or certain terms, but knows how their urgency is and wants to get them moved and tells some of the team members about that. Okay, so we want to be careful about that because that's confidential information that you can only disclose to those team members if you have permission from them, right? From that owner to tell them that. So we just want to be careful of that because even in our private little conversations we might have between agents, we might get carried away and disclose something confidential, right? So I just wanted to bring that to the forefront to be thinking about your processes within your teams if you have a team, or if you're not on a team or on a team, just privately conversations you have with other agents, where you might say something confidential. And then as far as agency disclosure goes, make sure that if you are a team leader or if you're on a team, that when you're working with a client, whatever that situation is, if there's more than one of you working with that client, have Form 42A signed by the client, which gives permission for multiple brokers to represent them. Because as things are on the face of the law, if the rainmaker, the team leader, gets a listing and has an agent who helps them with aspects of that listing, maybe an answering call. Okay, we've got to have permission for them to also be representing that seller. We want to have that Form 42A signed.
John, would that be true if you have a buyer specialist that has a showroom specialist as well?
Yes, absolutely true. Yeah, we want to have that. We want to have that 42A signed by the client so that we have it acknowledged that there's going to be more than one person representing them, because otherwise, the one person, Chris gets a listing, he represents that seller. Everyone else in the whole office represents buyers that might go to that listing. So it's only fair to the client that they be given advance notice that, hey, besides Chris, there's also going to be Dennis who's going to be involved in representing that particular seller. Yes.
So you putting both the agents on a listing agreement as well then? Or is it the phone points agent?
Yeah, I think that's fine if you put two names on the listing, but we have to, we have the disclosure responsibility to the client. So we just want to make sure that they understand what that means, and so I feel like that would be safe, but I guess Annie's point she made in the thing that I watched was that 42A should be signed. Just so you know, she couldn't remember the form. She was like, I don't remember the form. I think it was 42A. So, yes,
For that confidentiality comment, so if I get a listing and I want to talk about it with my team, you said we need permission, what sort of form what form of permission should we be requesting?
an email. They should just send you an email and say, get, a conversation where you say, I'd like to tell, members of my team about your, what you told me, that you'd be willing to take this much money, may I have that conversation? And the response would be,
But you would never do that. No listing agent's gonna tell somebody, especially in this market, it's just not gonna happen. You're not gonna go, well, I think they'll take 100,000 less. But let's put it on the market and see what happens. It's not gonna, you're just not gonna do it. You're not even gonna tell your buyer's agent. I mean, it just doesn't make sense that you would.
well, I'm just giving a scenario for a normal market, but in every market, you're gonna have different circumstances, different situations that will arise. And you just want to keep that confidentiality.
It works for an offer.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a desperate seller, and they're like, yeah, I'll take sleep help.
Yeah.
They need to sell it out of their house.
Okay, so questions, other questions?
I have a question.
Okay, let me get right back to you.
So I was listening to that video too, and I thought.
Which
there's
one?
Another thing for Mayhem, Team Mayhem
Oh,
video series.
This was before the Team Mayhem. But anyway, in the
For
Team Mayhem one, what
video
did
series, when Annie Fitzsimmons actually talked about, how we on our Facebook group will say, hey, can anyone show a house? I'll give you $100.
Right.
Go show this house I've never. She had a problem with that too.
which I've addressed in the past and will address in the
Okay.
future, and that's a great question, a great concern to anybody, right? Because according to Andy, there's a business model out there in our state where there are agents who represent themselves as just to anybody and saying, hey, if you need, I'm a concierge service agent, anybody who needs me to show a property in Tenino, I live down here and I'll be glad to show them for you, right? So the problem has to do with, a lot of it has to do with compensation. And so the only one who can pay you for services, real estate services rendered, is your designated broker and your firm and no one else. And so that's where the problem comes in, is when others are doing it. So I'm actually going to be covering the other issues of that later, but it is according to Annie, it's a big issue right now for the Department of Licensing, making sure that payment is coming from your firm to which you are licensed, because as a licensee, you're not allowed to receive compensation for real estate provided services from anyone else. Great question. And then you have.
In regard to the false advertising for a team leader, you're saying, hey, if you're a team leader, you can't say I had 100, but what if you're just marketing, you're trying to get that listing for your team? You're talking about it like, hey, as a team, we had this many closings this past year.
As a
Is
team,
it
that's
okay
fine.
in that verbiage?
Yes, as a team, that's fine. But she's talking specifically about seeing some advertisements, and it's about, that are blatantly false, saying this is the individual that did the sale when really it was another team. Yes.
Yeah, my question is about the form with the 42A. So my team, your bias consultant for
The 42A.
no,
No, the 22A financing addendum,
the 42.
42A.
The one you just mentioned. I don't know about that. And the team members, like not bias consultant, these are the people we work with. So they will be assisting in showing this. Do we still have to put that 42A in it, or after that?
I would suggest doing it so we have signed permission by the client, to have other parties representing them. It's a good question. We want to protect our backside all the time, right? So we want to have stuff signed, we want to have evidence and proof, so that if we're ever called up on everything, we can show those things. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
You want to speak about this really quick?
What's that?
Your upcoming.
Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you for reminding me about that. So starting on Monday, I'm going to start doing and on Zoom some 1-hour classes on specialty transactions like a vacant land purchase and sale contract, which will be coming up on Monday. It's coming Monday, and it'll be from 2 to 3, basically. It'll probably be shorter than that, but we try to block out that time, 2 to 3. That'll be available on Zoom for you to watch that. But also, it will be something that will be recorded, and we'll have a video library so that when you want that information, you can just go to the video and watch it. And so, starting out with the land, then the next week will be new construction. And then the next week will be contingent sales. And the forms we would use and the procedure we would have, the likely problems we'd encounter and how to deal with those. So I'm excited about those. The next month, we're going to have a whole new array of them for March. We've already got it set up and planned. So it's going to be usually on Mondays. It'll usually be 3 Mondays a month until we get through the different types of scenarios of transactions, and then they'll all be on video for you to be able to go to and watch.
Right.
Dennis.
On the land purchase and sale, will you be going into real estate contracts with deed of trust?
I have a separate session that I've already done that is available right now on KW Connect, and Goldie can direct you to them if you have any trouble getting to them. But it's on, specifically owner financing on the deed of trust versus a real estate contract when there's owner financing. It's called titled owner financing, I think is what it's called. So we already have a couple of them there, and when the forms changed, we had to toss some of them where they're not relevant anymore because the forms changed. But the ones that are still relevant are there, like the owner financing. And so I just wanted you to know that those things were available, and we got some more coming up. And I just wanted to make sure that you all were aware, and you can get a hold of Goldie to access any of that, to know where to access it.
Is that where these videos are going to be?
No.
Connect?
So the owner financing is on John's profile in KW Connect. If you just look up John Hanson, you can go to his videos. I can't move those off of KW Connect, so all the new videos are going to be posted to our YouTube channel. Cool.
Yeah, if you go to YouTube and put in John Hanson, you'll get thousands of
Oh, really?
Awesome.
Thank you, John.
Okay. It feels very weird to stand up here without my laptop in front of me. So a few quick things. I don't know how many people have been leveraging the quarterly magazine that's InCommand, but the new one's out. It's really great pre-created content. So if you're not leveraging it and you're looking for a way to leverage out, I hear a lot of, I don't know what to send people. Send them this. Yeah, you can use it as a quarterly connection. You can print it or email it out. It's also set up in such a way that you can actually divide it into 3 smaller kind of monthly newsletters. There's 3 different cover options. There's 3 different articles. There's 3 different things for you to edit about you personally. And it's designed that way on purpose so that you have something that you can send out to your clients monthly. So if it's not something you're leveraging, definitely take a look at it and see if it will work for you, because the content in it's fabulous. New designs are forthcoming. They're always updating designs, especially around the holidays. So if you haven't been in there in a minute, definitely go and check it out. Make sure you're using the content they've created for you. Yeah, if you haven't been in designs in a minute, lots of fun, exciting updates in there. We can animate things now, so you can create GIFs in Command. They're really easy, super user friendly. You do not need to be techie in order to use them, and you don't need to have a good visual eye in order to use them. Like, it'll do all the work for you. So if you have any questions about those, shoot me an email. But yeah, lots of great fun new content in designs. Any questions about any of the designs stuff? Cool. I have something else that I am letting know exclusively to people who are at the business meeting, either in person or on Zoom. I love you both. We are launching concierge listing marketing services. Yes, I'm excited. You should be excited.
Where was the excitement?
Concierge listing marketing services.
So what is that?
That's what I was about to say. That means all things that have to do with visually marketing your listing, we will handle it for you. So that means creating and running your Facebook ads. That means creating and posting your social posts. If you want to do postcards and flyers, we will create and mail them out for you. If it is visual and it has to do with your listing, it is available in my listing concierge. So we have two different services right now. We have a full service, which includes all of your digital things and all of the print things. And we have a digital only option. So those are the two things we're offering right now. It is in beta testing, which means I'm being very exclusive with the number of people who can be involved in that each week. So I am looking for 5 people each week who have a listing who are ready to test out those services. So if you are interested and you have a listing this week, come see me at the end of the business meeting. And if you're one of those first 5 people, I will get you all hooked up with all of the information that you need. Any questions about listing concierge?
You have a fee structure established?
I sure do.
All for the low price of?
Excellent question. It is all for the low price of $200 per listing for the digital only version. And then to cover the cost of printing and postage, it's $500 per listing for the full service.
And it shows us how many mailers are going out.
Yeah,
who
it's,
they're going
yep,
to.
it's 200 postcards, so 200 just listed postcards, 200 just sold postcards, so there's postcards on either end. And it's either marketing the farm around your listing or your database, whichever you would prefer.
Any other questions, guys?
Perfect. Thanks, Krista. Guys, I'm so excited about this panel. First off, they're amazing humans. Second, they're good at what they do. And so they're going to share with you their tips, tricks, and everything in between. So Rosie, Carla, Zia, coming up. Woo, take your seat. Oh, okay.
I want to sit in the middle. It's a sandwich. Yeah. Hair looks nice. Rosie, oh, awesome. Don't touch the rest.
Oh my gosh. Sorry, Cheryl.
Good morning, you guys.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. I know your time is valuable, so thank you, thank you. Let's start with Carla. Carla, introduce yourself. Let us know how long you've been in the industry.
I'm Carla Clark. I'm with the results team, and I got into real estate in 1995. That's it.
I'm Dan Dennis. I'm married to Cheryl Dennis in the back room. And we've been in real estate for over, we're part of My Puget Sound Homes. That's the name of our group. And we've been doing this for over 34 years.
Sorry, what was that one more time?
35 years.
That's awesome.
Rosie Rourke team. And I've been in it as long as Carla, 1995.
So what we're talking about today is specifically around listings. So let's start with Rosie. Rosie, have you always focused on listings? If you have, why is that? And if you haven't, when did that change?
So when I first got started, I didn't know anything about anything. And I wasn't with Keller Williams, so they didn't teach me the strategies, the techniques, the business plan. They actually said, my broker said, here's the phone book. and make phone calls.
Do we know what a phone book is, you guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I still use it.
So to me, it didn't matter. Nobody told me to be scared of being a listing agent. I hear that a lot from newer agents. I'm nervous. I'm not prepared. I don't know what to do. It's so different. To me, nobody was telling me those things, so I wasn't in my head, which I'm in my head a lot. So I just knew I had to go find somebody who wants to buy or sell a home. And that meant I could be listing a home or representing a buyer. To me, it was no different. So I quickly learned I like listings because that makes the phone ring and I don't have to make the cold calls from the phone book to find buyers. And when you have a listing, you have activity around it that makes the phone ring and you get buyers and you get sellers.
Dan, same question. You need to repeat it or you remember?
What's the question? No, it's kind of evolved. Because when I started way back when, everybody represented the seller. There wasn't any agency. And our allegiance was to the seller. So naturally, that's it kind of evolved. But when I started working with Cheryl, I worked for a builder. And when we started working together, Cheryl did a lot of listings, and it was mostly medium.
Which was what price point?
Back then, 130,000, 150,000. And when I started working with listings, I did more upper end type listings, waterfront, things such as that. We had a big argument, who did more, who should get paid more. And we just, Cheryl won. So, that's how we really started working together as a team as listings, because they would go. It wasn't something that I focused on, and it hasn't been until we started to grow our team that Cheryl is the best buyer's agent or best real estate agent period that I know. And as a result, I started working on the listing side, and it's really evolved to.
So
I'm
cute.
just making a little sign.
Yeah,
That was just so sweet. It was really nice.
She is. I mean, she's been gone for
Way
the
to stay
last.
out of trouble, Leah.
Yeah. Thank you, Dennis. So it's really evolved. So at this point, Cheryl is really focusing on the buyer side and training our buyer's agents. And then I work on the listing side of our business. And I take the listing, and then Ron works with our ISAs or our inside sales agents.
So when I got into real estate in 1995, I left a real job, and my husband was not super excited that I was going into a 100% commission business, and didn't know when I was ever going to get paid again. So I quickly signed up for Pro Start, and it was a class that you went to in the morning. They told you what to do, and then they excused you. You went home or wherever you needed to go in the afternoon, and you just did what they said. Okay, so they would give you little tiny pieces. And the first piece was, this is the phone book. You're going to make phone calls this afternoon until you get an appointment scheduled. If it takes you an hour, great. If it takes you all night, sorry. But when you come in tomorrow, you're going to have an appointment. And I'm like, so what are you going to do when you have an appointment? Don't worry about that because you don't have an appointment. So tomorrow, when you come in and you have an appointment, I'm going to tell you what to do. So again, I didn't know that there was a difference. And what I learned really fast back in those days is that if I had a seller, they were probably also a buyer because of my geographic area. They didn't want to go anywhere. They were in school districts they wanted to stay in. And my first 3 clients were sellers. I didn't know the difference. So
Okay.
don't be afraid. They're not more difficult. In fact, they may be easier.
Carla, what are your top 3 listing sources?
So back in the day, it was referral. I mean, 75–80% of my business was referral and past client, past client business. And when I didn't have one of those appointments scheduled for the day, it was the phone book. So today, we're still very heavily weighted on referrals and past clients and business around business, as Rosie mentioned. The more you can get your sign out there, especially if you're in a small geographic area, it only takes 2 or 3 of them before people think you're everywhere. And that makes the phone ring. The other thing that I've learned since KW, thanks to Cheryl, and one of the reasons that I'm here, is called the golden handoff. And we're doing a significant amount of business from helping agents who are ready to step out of the business find a great home for all their past clients.
Database, always has been, always will be. It's the best place to find listings. And that's how we get our referrals. Since then, it's grown to a lot of it somewhat, but Ron will argue with us that it's through our internet advertising. We do some numbers of listing that way, but for the most part, just like Carla, it's from our own database and we get referred to that.
How big is your database?
What do we got right now? Millions, 5,000?
37,000.
How big was it when you guys started?
400.
Maybe less than that.
37,000?
Yes.
37,000.
And you stay in regular communication with them?
Absolutely.
I'm like, I'm thinking, how are you doing that? That's great.
How many?
50%. That's the internet. Doesn't mean they take 5
Well,
years to cultivate.
I mean, that
But
is,
if you take that and
it's-
divide it by 35 years, how many- you know what I mean? How many a
but
year?
most of that came about when we started, when Ron introduced us to, introduced me to the internet, and we started doing our websites. And it's like, you know, we went from the phone book to using the internet. Ron introduced websites, people registering on our website, and then we started communicating in a regular manner. That's when our business really started to explode, not only just for our listings, but also for our buyers.
So Dan, what's the difference between working with a lead that's from the database versus working with a lead from online?
It's a slam dunk. If you've worked with them before, and we've worked, and I'm sure Rose is shaking her head, it's like working with your brother or your sister, yeah, or your mother.
Are we
It's
talking
easy.
about the database right now?
The database,
Okay.
absolutely. I mean, you've worked with them before, or you worked with this other capacity, or they referred by someone. I mean, we get a couple of calls easily a week about people that, hey, Dan, we were referred to you by John and Jill. They said you did a great job for them. We want you to come over. I mean, it's not like that, but it's just that easy. It's not as much work, and it's a lot easier to list their homes.
So now flip it. What's it like working with an internet lead?
Maybe 10 times as hard, if it even comes through. I mean, we will spend a lot of time working with those people, and it may be a long time nurturing them. And that's something that I have to do better for, is nurturing those people so they become a client of ours. And then they consider working with us. But it's like, you know, I'm not.
So the goals and the follow-up is what I'm hearing you say when it comes to those colder leads.
Yeah.
So excited. So excited. Rosie, what are your top 3 sources?
So I found it really important to track every lead source. So if I can give any recommendation, track it, mark it down. Because what you think might be different than what actually is happening. So 41% of my business last year came from people that I know and love, repeat referral business. And then 24% came from my farm, which has really been paying off the last few years.
How many years have you been at that? We were touching about that
20
earlier.
years,
Okay.
20 years. It's not a fast thing, but it definitely pays off. It's a farm. You put the seed in and
Right.
you water it and it starts to grow. So, and then 12% came from our social media marketing campaigns that we do.
Have you always tracked your business to that degree where you can go down to the percentage of business?
No.
When did you start developing that muscle?
When I got a team about 7 years ago.
And why?
I needed to know what's working, what's not, where do my marketing dollars go, where do my efforts go, what do I need to have tactics and strategies around the ones that are weak. And I find that I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 buckets of business. And I've got strategies around each one of the 10. So as much as I love working with people that know me and have worked with us, and
You're
I
touching you.
sorry, Cheryl. He's so lovable. He's so lovable. That I feel like the sign, let's talk about the sign for a second. The sign, I get a sign call. Well, I might as well pay attention to that sign. So let's beef up that sign. How am I going to make somebody make the phone ring from just that sign? So we do different strategies around that and the flyer and this, so that I can get the phone call to ring off that lead bucket. So just that's what I'm talking about. It's just strategies around every single lead bucket I have.
That's awesome. Use a good 10.
Cheryl has a question in the back.
I just want to know the difference between, as 20 years as a farm, do you not consider those folks your sphere of influence or database? at this
That
point?
is such a good question. Such a good question, because I live, work, play, my kids have grown up, their friends, their parents become my friend. It's a blurred line. I'm not, so I have to be really intentional about how the lead came in. And do I really know them, or did they just see me on Facebook and I don't know who they are, but I've seen them on the Facebook. I sound so old, on the Facebook. So I am old.
Go on the I-5 down.
To the Costco's.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I dial in and I have my team dial in. How did they really hear from us? But it's still a blur, and I love that. Yes.
Mr. Finch.
But, I heard you say you had 20% for your farm or, and 12% for your social media posts. I wanted to find out how many years did you do social media posts? Because now things have changed. So
Yes.
I wanted to find out
Yes.
how many years did you take to social media posts versus the farm, which is like 20% and 12%.
Mhm.
And
Same amount of time, 7 years, well, not same amount of time, 20 years for my farm, 7 years for my social media marketing. Dennis,
How many people are in your farm?
8,000
8,000 in your farm that you contact regularly, or how do you?
monthly.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then your social media posts, there's a lot of that have to do with that farm.
Yes. So I've got a marketing postcard I send out to my database, my SOI. That's different. That's a different message. So that's that. And then I have farm-specific targeted information that's, I'm hoping is going to make the phone ring for them specifically, because it's about them, not just time to turn your crops back, time to plant your flowers in the springtime. You know, that's nonsense stuff, in my opinion. Hit them hard, get them where they want. What are their houses selling for? What's the interest rates doing in their neck of the woods? All of those things that are specific to that farm. So they get a postcard every month. And then we tie that postcard to a URL to my website with the blog about the postcard campaign. And we put it on social media on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Pinterest, believe it or not, which is a Google-owned product. So you're all of a sudden at the top of the list in the Google search just for the Pinterest thing. They're not going to find an agent from Pinterest, but it's all that layering that we do that drives the traffic.
So 8,000 people in your farm, is that about $4,000 a month to, or is it more than that to market to them once a month?
It's less than that. I don't have the numbers specifically in front of me, but it's less than that.
So
Social
maybe
media,
not 50 cents.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's every door direct mail, so it's actually way less than 50 cents a piece. But there's also the design cost involved, and social media marketing is free. Unless you boost it, costs a tiny bit more.
Can I ask one more question? This is for all of them, You've all said your biggest source is always your sphere or your database. But I know all of you well enough to know you don't just sit there and wait for them to call.
No.
And so it's a constant, you're talking
constant.
to them,
We have
you're
our top
communicating
people.
one way or another.
Yep, we have our top people, what we call our top people on our team, VIP, but our top people. And those are people that we are genuinely in relationship with. And we really encourage every team member to have 100 people, you know, and then they'll say, I don't have anybody. Your mom, your grandma, there's gotta be somebody, right? So we're building towards that 100. And I'm talking to them at least once a month. We're having a conversation. It's not, sometimes it's a conversation about real estate, but my goal is to be involved in their life and to bring value to their life. We want to be a resource for them. And that may be super old school, but it works for me. I mean, like, I developed a deep relationship with a single client. I have one person in particular that 5 of his neighbors in $1 million up neighborhood all went on the market within a 3-month period of time with us because he referred them to us. Right. And I'm still getting phone calls from that. We've done a total of 7 pieces of business, all over $1 million because of that top person relationship. And I think maybe that's one of the things that our team really focuses on is what is our average sale price? And again, we do everything. I mean, I grew up in a trailer, so we do everything from manufactured homes in a park to Street of Dreams homes that we've represented. And again, people are people, but I think if you begin to focus and create top people that are targeted towards a higher price point, you're going to get to your desired GCI faster, and dependent upon your business plan, which our CEO and the primary owner now of our company now is, yes, that would be Josh. And he's very conscientious about how much money we spend. What is the return? He doesn't care whether or not we have a billboard or everybody's seen a newsletter, or it's like, have we profited $1 million to $2 million? And if not, we failed. So that's really the metrics. The profit is that what he's really looking for. And we're doing that through relationships. And those top people are bringing the majority of the business.
Everybody that we have in our database, we have a name, we have a phone number, we have address, we have an email, we have their birthdays. Everybody that's in our database has a campaign. And through Boomtown, we're able to contact those people as much as we possibly want. We can personalize those campaigns. I don't care if their 3-year-old kid has a birthday, we're sending them a birthday card. And one of the most mundane things, and I hate it the most, is every month we get a basket full of birthday cards, anniversary cards, this card, that card. We all sign them. So we do a simple thing as that, to picking up the phone, to sending them emails. It's just constant. So when they think of putting a home on the market, or a friend's ask them that, they're going to say,
You're touching me.
they're going to remember my Puget Sound homes. And maybe they'll, what about this Rosy Road?
Your database is your gold.
Yeah.
Talk about working smarter.
Don't
not
ever
harder.
forget them. And if they give you a referral, thank them.
Thank them.
Give them
Give them a
something.
gift certificate, Starbucks gift certificate.
Question for you. Are you guys handwriting your birthday cards and home anniversaries? Or are you, since you're
Well, we get it.
signing them?
Yeah, we handwrite them. We also hand signature them too. Sometimes we put a little message in there too.
So powerful. So powerful to get a handwritten note these days in the mail.
Question, compared to like when you guys came in, 'cause obviously you guys have been doing it for a long time. If you were a new agent entering the game right now, in this time with the market being crazy, social media being so powerful, what would be the steps you would take to start your business now? Versus back then when it was more analog, it's more digital now. So what would you prefer? How would you enter the game?
It's funny because it's all going back to the basics, and I'll go back 1995 to my basics, and I still do the basics today. It's muscle memory, and it's not going to go away. So I have my new agents work on their database first. Don't go past go until you've got your database dialed in and a letter sent out to them and phone calls to them. And now you're dripping on them every single month at least, and making those calls every month to your
Do you have
tops.
a minimum standard for what you want them to have in the database?
The quantity?
Yeah.
I don't have a standard, but because you start where you start, but I help them with strategies of how to build onto that. Who's your dentist? Who's your orthodontist? Who's your eye doctor? Who's your house cleaner? You know, come on, let's think. So a lot of people get kind of stuck on, well, they don't want to buy or sell. I didn't say that. You need them in your database. You have no idea when they're going to buy and sell and who they're talking to.
What
Our
we-
number's 200.
We
They
want.
don't sign a team agreement until they have 200. We'll help them get there.
Jeez.
Oh my God. We
I'll
were
take
doing
your
1,000
leftovers.
dials a day for a while. Yeah,
I'll
200.
take your leftovers.
We look at it, if you're gonna get married today, who would be you invite to your wedding? You know? So we want 100 people. We want names, address, phone numbers, your mom, your dad. I don't care if they're dead. We're gonna mail to them, we're gonna contact them.
And when I tell them, sorry, I'm so touchy. I'm sorry. I love touching people. So, is that on Zoom? So I love being able to also will attach your database is your database. I don't take your database. So if you decide to leave me and go somewhere else, it is your database.
Yes.
But the best part is if they find someone from their database, How cool is that to work with their friend or family? They didn't have to work hard at a silo lead or a sci-call lead or, change of wind lead. It's just it's easier and they get compensated on my team better because they brought that one in. It wasn't just a team lead being generated.
So I'm gonna put you guys on the spot because it just came to my brain. I'm really excited about it. So we're totally
Oh,
gonna
look
do
at
it.
her, look at her.
I know.
So excited.
Can we role play? Can we pretend like I'm someone in your sphere? And I would love to hear what your guys' conversations are to help drum up listing specific business.
Sure.
Can we do that? Sure. Okay, perfect. Rosie, call me.
Ring, ring, ring.
Hello.
Hi. Hi, Lindsay. It's Rosie. How are you?
Oh my gosh, you're fantastic. How are you?
I'm good. I haven't talked to you forever, and I was just driving down the road past your neighborhood, and I thought of you as I always do. How are your kids?
Amazing. They're trouble, but they're good.
For God's sakes, ask for the listing.
Wait, I'm nurturing. So, and tell me, what are you up to these days? How's work?
Busy. I'm glad my head touched my body, but what about you?
Oh, so you're a CPA still, aren't you?
Yes.
Oh, great. Yeah. So business must be booming because there's a lot of stuff happening in the economy and people are making some money out there. So you doing good?
Killing it now.
Good. Well, is there anything I can do for you or your family?
You know, not that I can think of. It's good hearing your voice though. I feel like it's been a hot minute.
You know what I'd love to do?
Tell me more.
I would love to have a cup of coffee because it's been so long. And because you're a CPA, I know I could probably drum up business for you.
Mhm.
And then maybe we can help each other out.
Well, you have me at coffee, so yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. Wednesday at 2?
Perfect, yeah.
Done.
You. Oh,
Ring.
hello.
Lindy.
Yeah.
This is Dan Dennis.
I assume.
Hey, I gotta tell you what I gotta tell you, I thought of you instantly, because last night I saw another whale. I can't believe you how many whales I've seen this week, and every time I think of you.
Man,
How come you're not over at our place when they come by?
we live on a farm and young.
Hey, well, listen, that's really the reason I'm calling. We just put a home on the market, maybe about a half mile from your estate. Do you know of anybody that perhaps might be looking for something like that out there?
Like everybody and their dog, but nobody off the top of my mind that I know
Oh,
specifically.
it's 5 acres. It's got a barn. It's got outbuildings, and I would love for you to tell me who we should put in that so you can have a great neighbor.
Things like that.
How big the house? Okay, it's not really a house. It's made out of metal. It's called a mobile home, but I think they call them homes, but no, I'm being facetious. It's 2,500 square foot, 2-story. It's one of those cute farmhouses, been there since 1942. So if you could help us out at all, I would really appreciate it. We might even buy you dinner.
Well, this is my love language, but I've got in-laws that are eyeballing Washington, so I think they would put that in front of them.
Okay, great. I would love to hear from them. So just keep us in mind, okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I put you?
Sure.
Awesome. So I just give you a lead and you didn't take any of their.
I didn't
their
hear you.
contact info.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. My in-laws.
Okay.
So when somebody gives you contact information, what is it that we need to do to make sure that we can control that conversation, you guys?
Great, can I get their phone number?
Yes.
Email address.
Because we know as real estate agents, we will run to that conversation, right? But if we give out a business card or passive like that, we can't guarantee that they're going to be in contact with us. So always teach people how to give you the referrals.
Okay,
I honestly
know where the
did.
card's going.
Say that again?
I know where the card's
Recycle
going.
it.
Straight to the garbage.
If it makes it that far.
I honestly didn't hear you.
You're
Sorry.
good.
I don't carry business cards anymore. So I really don't. Okay, so I'm gonna do something a little bit different, okay? Okay. Ring, ring, ring.
Hello.
Hey, Lindy, it's Carla Clark with the results team. How are ya?
Oh, girlfriend, how are you?
I am absolutely fantastic. We are having a blast today. The entire team is at the office. And we're doing a big giveaway. And we're calling all of our favorite people. And here's the gig. I need your help. We are giving away a Traeger at the end of the day. You know you want one.
Man, tell me more.
Okay, it's really simple. All you need to do is share a name and number with me of somebody who might benefit from a real estate conversation. It doesn't have to be somebody who's ready to buy or sell today. somebody that we can just be a resource for in the future? Who can you think of that might benefit from a call from us?
You know, I have a neighbor that I'm not a fan of. I love it.
We happen to specialize in helping people find better neighbors. So I'll tell you what, why don't you share with me a name and number and how I'm going to get a hold of them and maybe the best time, and I'll be reaching out. I'll enter you into the contest.
Can I get more than one entry?
Here, let me tell you. Actually, every hour on the hour, we're going to do a drawing for anyone who's given us multiple names and numbers. And the giveaway is a $100 Amazon card. So I want you to spend the day thinking about us and who you might know who would benefit from a conversation.
Jill, I can do that.
Okay, so what about that name and number?
Yeah, Jen, I don't remember her last name, but I've got her email and phone number for you.
Perfect.
Woo, that's how it's done.
That's awesome.
Nice.
I love that benefit from a conversation
Yes.
with me.
Yeah.
Because
Bring
people,
them
when
value.
you put someone on the spot and you ask them who you know is going to buy or sell.
What do they care?
No,
Yeah,
Mhm.
nobody.
And so,
I don't want
again,
that
if you
call.
build the relationship, and that gets back to that top 100, they know that I'm not going to chase somebody down the street or do something super tacky. I mean, I hope not. That I'm gonna do something super tacky.
Right.
That, you know, it's going to be classy, it's going to be fun, and they don't hesitate to give us the information. We do what we call that a reverse gold, and we do it as a team every other month, and we get anywhere from 50 to 100 leads, and then depending upon how they came in, they get dispersed mostly to our ISA department and schedule appointments. You'd be surprised how many people, you know, really do want to talk about what's happening in the market. And then the difference of understanding what's a listing appointment, right? Sometimes we think anytime we're talking to somebody, it's a listing appointment, right? And then we wonder what's wrong with our conversion. But a listing appointment is, in my mind, is really somebody who is ready and motivated to do business, right? And then you need to go in with a listing agreement and don't leave their house until you get it signed, right? But if you're doing a nurture appointment, that's a totally different kind of conversation and very valuable. I mean, I have people that I've never done business with because I've lived in the same damn house for 30 years, but they have referred an incredible amount of business to us because they know that when they send us someone that our team's going to take care of them.
Love that so much. Okay, is there anything on your guys' heart that you wanted to share with everybody while you're here? That you think, you know, had I heard that when I first started, or this is what I've been learning in the market we're in. Is there anything specific?
Don't be nervous of sellers, really. And if you feel like you've got some missing pieces, get together with somebody who would love to share. You can call me. Get together with somebody who would love to share some ways that you can start making those connections. Because especially in this market, it's much easier to work with the seller and get paid than it is to work with a buyer. And what I'll say about that is that every market changes. You know, I mean, I was in this world when I had an average market time was 8 months. And some people, if there was a short sale, you might be in a relationship with them for 18 months, right? Everybody wanted to be a buyer's agent back then. Wait a day or two and the price will go down, right?
So take the playbook out, take the page of the playbook, and now we focus on buyers, now we focus on listings.
Yep. Don't be afraid of sellers. You got what it takes, I promise. You just need to get in the right circle that you've got the encouragement to build your confidence, because that's really what you're selling is you. What are you going to do for them?
I'd love to hear what your conversations are right now with sellers that are nervous of the market and not being able to find a property. So nervous about selling their house too fast and not sure where to go.
So what I do for that is we do an exercise.
Great.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's okay. We might even have lots of different opinions, and so hopefully everybody can answer it. But for me, it would be an exercise of before I put your house on the market, why don't we just do a search? Let's see if what you're looking for is actually realistic. And then I'm going to show you how often things come up and that they are selling. You just have to be with the right agent who's going to get you into the winning seat, not the back seat. And you can tell how many days on market, what the price is from list price to sold price. You can arm them with all that information. And quite frankly, there's going to be some that will not work for them.
Sure.
But the ones that are, now you have an easier job selling them a house and selling their house.
With us, we always have a buyer's agent that's working with them. And what we do is we take those people and we have that conversation where we go out and take a look at their home and get them ready to that point. So when they do find that ideal house, they're ready. It's just going to be, they're going to be in a contingent situation, obviously. So we go out and we do our normal mission, which is go down and take a look at their home, do a market analysis, sit down and talk to them. We may even go as far as to get them to sign an agency agreement, get them set up on photos, get their homes ready to go on the market. And then more importantly, once we find out how much they've got in their back pocket or what they're going to net from that listing, I mean, that's a minimum, turn them over to a lender, get them qualified, and then they go out looking for houses. So all they got to do is zero in on that house. And our buyer's agents are coaching on how to take that, make sure that they're going to win. I mean, it may take them a few times to win, but they're going to have a very, very good chance, and they know how much they're going to have in their left hand to put down on that home. And it all flows together very easily at that point. Those are great conversations. We love that stuff.
Yeah, you're doing contingent offers, is that an example?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's very difficult at this point for them to say, let's go out and find a house unless they know how much the house is worth and they're ready to put it on the market if they're contingent.
Sure.
And then get them in touch with the lender because they may not need to go contingent. They could possibly get a HELOC.
Yeah, or a bridge loan
Or-
now these days.
Yeah, we're trying hard not to take anyone who's contingent.
Yeah.
Right, because it's just useless, right? Unless it's the right area, the right market, and that works. And we've had that work, but just a handful of times at this type of crazy market.
Great.
See the one for Bellevue that was for $1 million over asking?
Yeah. What?
Well,
Yeah,
And posted that too.
yeah. That's crazy talk.
Yeah.
They wouldn't look at a contingent. So it's getting them set up with their lender. With
I
those
think the lender
conversations.
conversation is really important. We had Greg in yesterday and we talked about how there are so many opportunities to pull money from a source and then re-amortize or recast that loan as soon as your home sells without having to refinance. I just think there's a lot of options, and if you can make those available, you can go in with your own personal lore about how you're handling sellers and what your buyer numbers look like,
yeah.
and really talk them through what that success looks like. We do take it to pictures. We get the signed listing
Yeah,
agreement.
get it
We
right.
take it clear to ready to push the button. That does help the conversation if they really have no choice
We get
with
into
the
it
listing
with it,
agent.
yeah.
I have another idea. We need to buy some rental properties, right? So we can literally, as a company, promise that nobody will be homeless. You
Yes.
sell your house and we've got a place for you to go.
Where's Dennis?
Thank you, winner.
Where's the Keller Williams house? Yeah.
I think there's some real options. How powerful would that be if you sat down with your client and said, listen, we care so much about your family's well-being that we own a couple of homes in your school district. And oh, that's even better.
We can co-venture that.
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right, so anyway, those are just conversations that we've been having, but about the time that I actually do something about it, the market works.
I love that idea though a lot. Thank you guys for pouring in. Really sincerely appreciate you guys. Please know that they're still available for you even after this panel. So if you guys, Bill.
I just throw out one more idea that is absolutely not work. Take me $300,000. There is an outfit, this came about from 9/11. The company in New York City created a website called meetup.com. You are, say, a left-handed Native American who loves to knit. You go on to meetup.com and say, I'm looking for rooms that accommodate left-handed Native Americans who love to knit within 5 miles of my house. There's probably one out there. If there isn't, you start one. I joined a hiking group 11 years ago, and I do it because I love to hike, and the people I have met have become probably 95% of my social life for the last 12 years. So I'm out there doing what I love, and I have become the guy out of this group of 500 people to be their real estate agent. I don't go out and talk about real estate. You develop a relationship with people, and over time, and the last time I counted, it is over $300,000 in gross commission just from that group of people doing what I love, and it's not work. All I do is show up and do what I like to do. So, on meetup.com, find something you love to do. If you can't find a group out there that does what you want to do, start your own.
But you can be Rosie and Dan, you can have your own database, so you could just start making matches,
Love
meet
matches.
up at exactly. I'm looking for this kind of house. I'm looking for this kind of house.
We talk about it every Tuesday. We make a love, try and make a love match.
I love
Oh,
that.
that's super cute.
Yeah, a love
Oh,
match. I
love
told you I
that.
would like a feeling. Can I interject something too before we go? Because it's been a year since I've been with Keller Williams. I gotta tell you, we're so lucky to have all the education and the resources and the tools. I came from another company. Obviously, I was successful at what I did, but a lot of times I felt like I was flying by the seat of my pants. They give us a plan. And if you just work the plan, so you've got the 5-5-5 daily habits and the time blocking and the 4-1-1 and the growth plan and all those things. Those are all things I got introduced to here. And now I feel a little more control. So I wish I would have done that years ago. But you guys have the ability to take advantage of that.
Perfect, thank you. Thank you guys so much, so much. I know we're running a little bit over. We've got one more thing. Miss November, come on up.
November and February. Woo. Sweet. February 1st. You guys all know it's the first day of our Black History Month. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the history of Black History Month. Have fun with that one. Does anybody know how it started, how it came to be? Inkling, nothing? All right, so I'm going to read because I put it together so I wouldn't mess up the dates. Black History Month, the first iteration was actually called Negro History Week. And it was created in February of 1926 by Carter G. Woodson, who is also known as the father of Black history. He chose February because before the week of observance, if you will, because it coincides with the birth dates of former US President Abraham Lincoln and also the social reformer Frederick Douglass. And both men obviously played a big role in helping to end slavery. But by the late 1960s, coinciding with the civil rights movement, there was a growing awareness of the Black identity. And Negro History Week, it's weird to say that, so I apologize, was celebrated by mayors in various cities across the country, mainly on college campuses. But the event did eventually evolve into Black History Month on many campuses later. And in 1976, our president, Gerald Ford, officially recognized Black History Month. He gave a speech that urged all Americans to seize the opportunity to honor the too often neglected accomplishments of Black Americans in every area of endeavor throughout our American history. Because there's a lot of people that have helped us that we don't even know their names, right? Since this administration, every president since has acknowledged and recognized Black History Month, but it wasn't until 1986. 1986, that was not a long time ago, guys, that Congress finally passed the National Black History Month into law, right? And that at that point, many people in the country began to observe it formally. And the law was aimed to make all Americans aware of the struggle for freedom and equal opportunity. So I feel like there's always a question, well, why do they get a special month? Why is this? Why, it's not about having a special month. It's about bringing to light the forgotten players in our history. There's a lot of people we don't know about. Example, we all enjoy lights. We have lights everywhere. Who knows who invented the light bulb? Throw it out. Thomas Edison. All right. Thomas Edison, his first creation of the light bulb was great. It worked, but it only lasts for a day or two. It wasn't until, let me flip my page. It was not a woman, actually. It was man, and I think Lewis Latimer actually was the one who created and invented the carbon filament that he worked with Thomas Edison on the light bulb. He created the carbon filament that allowed the light bulb to last longer, which then allowed it to be used in street lamps and in our houses to like, hey, we don't know his name. Lewis Latimer, thank you for our lights. Thomas Edison, thank you. Who has a phone, touch-tone phone? Everybody's got a phone, right? I don't remember who's the person who's accounted for creating our first touch-tone phone, but Shirley Jackson is actually the one who, based on her nuclear physics experiments, paved the way for numerous developments that have contributed to our telecommunications. So because of her and her experiments and her stuff, we now have touch-tone phones, we have portable faxes, we have caller ID, call waiting, and fiber optic cable. Dr. Shirley Jackson is responsible for that. Just one of a few names. So I challenge everybody this month at some time, look at something that's familiar with yourself, or just go on and search, learn about one person behind the scenes that you didn't know before, was the African heritage or descent, that impacts our daily lives. And that's kind of the whole point of Black History Month, is to take that time to do it. So, yes.
So when we figure that person out,
Post
it'd be
it
fun to post it in
and
the
tag me.
Facebook.
Share. It could
Share
be
it
just,
for
yeah,
everybody.
fun facts about whatever. It would be great. And I
That's
think that would be a really great way for us all to get involved, because it is part of all of our lives, whether you're African American or not. It's just learning the forgotten histories. So I challenge you guys to find a fun fact, tag it on our Facebook page. That's all.
Will do, November.
I know we ran over and your time is valuable. Thank you guys for being here. Let's make it an amazing week. Let me know if you guys need anything, okay? Yes. Okay, no problem. Yep.